Diomaye Faye, the president of Senegal, is about to travel to France for the third time. Now, this is really a very questionable thing for Diomaye Faye to travel to France again, as it was not even clear why he traveled for two times in 1 month. In June and also in July. Hello, I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. Now, we have read that from the social media, which is a very trustable social media, that Diomaye Faye, the president of France, the president of Senegal, is about to travel to France. This is happening in mid of August. Now, this is really, to say it in a very modest language, this is wrong, but this is completely embarrassing, betrayal, and really a shameful thing to do for Diomaye Faye, whether we look at it from the national perspective, whether we or we look at it from the regional perspective. Now, I will give you two scenarios really to explain this better. I will explain both from the historical perspective and from the contemporary politics in Senegal why this is wrong. Now, historically, first of all, why he's going for the third time to France. I'm going to share this with you and read it for you. Look, this Afrique on France, they have more than 115,000 followers on social media, and now this is what it's posted, like a mediation. It's in French, so this is a translated version. A mediation compromised by frequent visit to Paris. Now, Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, recently inaugurated, could make his third visit to France on August 15 to commemorate the 18th anniversary of the landing in Provence. Now, I'm going to stop it there because the rest is really, we don't need it. Now, this is why it serves me while I analyze it to you from the historical perspective. Now, this landing of Provence is in August 14 to 15. It's celebrated in France. Now, this year in 2024, it's going to be marked for the 8 years anniversary of the Provence landings and the liberation of Provence Alpes Côte d'Azur region by the Allied forces. Now, this major event is an opportunity to remember the sacrifice of the soldiers who fought for freedom and peace. Now, this basically has to do with with the Second World War as well. So, look, while France actually celebrates not only this March 19th, now I'm analyzing to you from the historical perspective, March 19th is the day for France, which they commemorate for their soldiers also, besides August 14 and 15, soldiers who fought for while the Africans fight for their independence and France fights for their sustaining of their colonization in Africa. So we have the Algeria War of Independence. We have the rest of the West African War of Independence. We have also the Morocco ones, different conflicts in Morocco. Now, France celebrates these both dates to commemorate its soldiers, okay? Now, basically, while it's fighting to sustain its colonization, but on the other hand, this is the irony and what makes it really embarrassing, shameful, and a betrayal from the historical perspective. On the other hand, France has the African soldiers, and particularly also the Senegalese soldiers that they have recruited because they are colonizing Senegal at that time, and they have recruited this Senegalese military to go and fight in their war in Europe for the Second World War, and their war also in Africa, where Algeria or others were fighting for their independence. Okay, now these people, after there were Senegal, there are those who died and there are those who were imprisoned. There is nothing whatsoever is commemorated about this Senegalese military or African militaries that have lost their life and also being imprisoned and tortured for France war. Okay, now after imprisonment, there were this Senegalese military. I think it's the Germans have imprisoned them for 4 years, from 1940 to 1944. And then when they released them, they refused to go. Look how they were so, how do you say, they were fighting for their just. And the reason for them why they refused, look, they released them, the Germans released them, but they refused to go to be on board on ship, because they said, first of all, they need a payment for all those years that they have been fighting, and they need all, compensation that for 4 years that they have been imprisoned. Now this rebel, if you may say, or whatever, fighting for just, not only it was happening from Europe, but also it was happening back in Senegal, because there were those already who have been shipped back to Senegal, and there was these ones who were about to ship. So they refused. When they refused, it was, I think, in Britain, in a camp. It's outside of London. There was a French military and also the US military that came and gunned down all these ones who have refused. And the same thing in Dakar, outside of Dakar, in the place called Traoré or something. Correct me if I may not have pronounced it very well. Those who have heard the rebel of their brothers in Europe, also they have been revolting, asking for just to be paid for compensation for what they have done, for fighting along France, and also for being imprisoned and tortured. Guess what? Again, the French troops that were present in Senegal have killed this Senegalese military, and there were a soldier from Cote d'Ivoire, and there was also a soldier from Burkina Faso. Now, just asking for their right and for just, they have been killed. Now, this history have not been, for decades, have been hidden from the French people and also from the Senegalese people. Nobody has acknowledged, no leader in France has acknowledged. The first person that kind of tried to acknowledge was Sarkozy, Nicolas Sarkozy, where he tried to acknowledge this. Guess what kind of what kind of sentiment there was by the French people? They said, "Je ne regrette rien." So we don't regret nothing. Basically, that's what they are saying. So after him, there was François Hollande, and there were others who tried, but it wasn't successful. And the number of people, research has had it from in few hundred, like 300, 400 people have been killed. But what they're saying is from, the numbers are from 35 to 70. So thanks to research now, although they have been hiding it, thanks to researchers, now they came out. There was a lady that came out with the research. I can I can share you the link with you. She came up with the numbers about 400, it can be up to 400 people that have been killed. And also not just the killing, their burial, how they were buried. It was a mass burial. It was a genocide that has been committed against these people, okay? And still now it's not revealed. It's just hidden. So let me just, because it's by itself, it's a topic and it needs an explanation. So what France is hiding is now have been revealed by research, and it needs a lot of work. Let me just stop it here. So why I am saying, if I say this much, it serves my argument that while I talk about now Diomaye Faye, while this is done, by France against Senegal, that now that the Senegalese president is going to France to commemorate these soldiers of the French troops, while the people of Senegal who died in the war are still, forgotten, and their true story did not come out. Look at it, how it looks very shady and all embarrassing. Now, let me move to the second point, why his travel to France is wrong one. From the contemporary perspective. Contemporarily, let's question, okay? Now, Diomaye Faye came to power in April, beginning of April. He's just barely 4 months in office. 2 times he has already traveled to France. One was in the name of Vaccine for Africa, whatever that France organized. The second one is the inauguration of the Olympics, okay? In both cases, there is a private meetings, particularly on the first one, private meeting between Diomaye Faye and President Macron, that whatsoever went in that meeting, it's not revealed or disclosed to the people of Senegal. I have talked to people, activists there, and they don't know anything. Secondly, why do you have to go for the third time? Okay, for the third time, what is the need? Even those 2 travels are enough to come out with a conclusion. First of all, let's look at it contemporarily from the national perspective. From the national perspective, who is benefiting from these travels? First of all, this party, Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko, came to power with a revolution. Although, you call it democratically elected or whatever, but people have revolted and against Macky Sall, the previous leader, and that's how they came to power. And there were specific questions that people were asking. Okay, that is, the main one was to break away with their colonial past for once and for all. And that's what Sonko was advocating and campaigning to do that, and showing the support with the Alliance of the Sahel States. Okay, now, whatever went behind the scene, now it was Diomaye Faye that came in front because Ousmane Sonko was in prison. Okay, now this by itself is a topic to analyze it. But when he came to power, people expected that they will do what they have promised before they come to power. Now, after his second travel, and particularly after when he came back from the Paris Olympics inauguration, he was interviewed. He was interviewed in Senegal on a national broadcast, and he was asked when will happen the breakaway with France, and he said he does not want to do this sudden breakaway with France. So it was after that people came out, and the youth and from various sectors, they protested in Dakar. And one of the things, there was a few demands, and one of the things, they break away from France for Senegal to show a support for Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and others, and to keep all the promises that this party has promised before they came to power. Okay, now, before even answering that question, you are adding another trip to France. By going there, it serves actually the interest of the French government, not the interest of the Senegalese people, because nothing has not been implemented what they have been requesting. Yes, there are some few changes that Senegal is trying to review the contracts, the business contracts that it's having with Europe, with France, or whatever, particularly with the fishing industry, but that's not even finalized. Okay. Secondly, we all know, regionally, we all know that France has an interest not only in Senegal, but also in the region. I mean, in Africa, if there's no France in Africa, then there's no France at all. I mean, there's a saying that Jacques Chirac said. So if they're not present, if they don't get the resources from Africa, there is no France. Actually, France would be in the third world or whatever. There is this saying. So France is built on the oppression of the people of Africa, particularly in West Africa and in its colonies in the continent. So France has interest in the region. So Diomaye Faye, by so-called strengthening this bilateral relationship with France, it only benefits to the people, to the government of France, because is it really to keep their business and whatever they have in Senegal, that this bilateral relationship is, going forward and in 2 times, 3 times at in a pace. So it's, of course, there is this interest that France has in the Sahel region. Also considering after being kicked out from the alliance of the Sahel states, and they said already they know what's going on. That's why Assimi Goita of Mali, the president, Colonel Assimi Goita, said whatever happens in our region, in the alliance with the Sahel states, the decision is taken in Niamey, Bamako, and Ouagadougou, not in Paris. When he said that recently, he's sending a message for repeated trip of Diomaye Faye in France. Whatever is being cooked in France is not going to happen. Like, that's the message he's sending. So, and Diomaye Faye, by going again and again, what kind of message is being sent to the Alliance of the Sahel States? So, for both, for its public image, for France, it's all benefiting France, not really Senegal. To benefit Senegal, we all know how he should go about it, because we have seen how Burkina Faso went about it, how Niger went about it, how Mali went about it. So at the end, I have only questions, questions of is what's happening in Senegal. I mean, if it's really a revolution, then is it being hijacked? How did Diomaye Faye came to power? It makes it all questionable. Was it from the beginning a plan by France to bring him to power? It was a long-term thing that Osman Sonko to stay in prison, and he then to bring him to power. So whatever the case, and I will leave the answer to you, although it seems very obvious. And then I really want to hear from my people in Senegal. What do you think about this? And I would like to end it here. Thank you very much for tuning in. So I'll just give a quick shout out, as I always say. Hello, Sister Greta Woodson. Thank you, Sister, for all your support. You still need to sleep, if that's the name of the username. Bunsu Big Well, C and S, hello. Pedro Gemot. Who else am I missing? Yeah, I think Patricia Cox, greetings, sister, as well. Abu Ngoma. Yeah, let us know in the comment section what do you think of this. It's really sad whether whatever happens, whether he they hear this, maybe decides not to go to France or whatever. What happened already for 2 times to go to France is enough to conclude what we have. I'm gonna see you. See you on the next one. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share the video with others. Do not keep it just for your own self. It's information and knowledge. And if you want to help us further, please support our channel through our PayPal account. That will help us to be here more often. Thanks again, and bye-bye.